Welcome to NMS. This is my video series called Do You Have a Thyroid Condition? Now the reason I'm doing this video series is a lot of people ask me about their metabolism, why they've got a slow metabolism, how they can speed it up, and could they have some sort of thyroid condition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a three-part video series. This first one is what the thyroid gland actually does. The second video is going to be all the different conditions of the thyroid gland. And the third one is how do we treat the thyroid conditions, both from a medical perspective and also from a natural perspective. So stick with me, guys. There's a lot of good information in this video and you will learn a lot about the thyroid gland and its function, okay, or dysfunction. So what is the thyroid gland and what does it do? Okay, so the thyroid gland is basically a small butterfly-shaped gland. It sits around here, just below the larynx, at the front of your neck, just below your Adam's apple. So you can see your Adam's apple here, it's just below that, okay? It plays a crucial role in regulating of many different functions through the release of hormones. Now those two hormones, thyroxine, T4, or Triiodothyronine, okay? That's a difficult name to say, so we'll just call it T3. Now, these hormones help regulate metabolism, so how your body uses energy, heart rate, body temperature, growth and development, digestion, and mood and brain function. Okay, so very, very important hormone. The thyroid gland typically synthesizes and secretes the thyroid hormones T4 and T3. Now, it secretes those within the thyroid gland, but mainly the T4, okay, and only a small amount of T3. 80 to 90% of the actual hormones that it produces is T4. This process is actually regulated by another hormone called thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. We're just going to refer to it as TSH for the rest of this video series. Okay, now that's produced in the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland in the body actually regulates a lot of different hormones and also controls a lot of the metabolic and growth functions of the body. Now, T4 and T3 are released into the bloodstream, okay? Now, like I said, 80 to 90% is T4, and T3 is actually produced in the liver and the kidneys by deiodinases, okay? That's another, it's a catalyst for producing your T3, okay? Now, it's metabolized and inactivated, okay, through deiodination, okay? Glucuronidation and sulfation, mostly in the liver, okay? So deiodination converts T4 to T3 or converts it to an inactive form called reverse T3. Now, after metabolism, they're secreted through bile or the urine, okay? Now, iodine is a critical component of thyroid hormone synthesis, okay? So each molecule of T3 contains 3 iodine atoms and T4 contains 4 iodine atoms. Without enough iodine, the thyroid gland cannot make sufficient hormones, which leads to hypothyroidism, low thyroid hormone levels, slower metabolism in other words. The pituitary increases TSH to stimulate the thyroid, which can, when it malfunctions, can actually cause goiter growth when you don't have enough iodine. So it's important to get enough iodine. And this can lead to enlarged thyroid. So when people do actually have hypothyroidism, they look for an enlarged thyroid gland, and that's generally from goiters growing in the thyroid. So iodine is a very important chemical. It's a mineral that you need to take in, okay? It basically is in a salt form, so you can actually take it in a salt form in order to go and get enough iodine. Now, iodine deficiency leads to hypothyroidism, as mentioned, and then that can actually lead to an increase in TSH, or your thyroid stimulating hormone, and this can lead to goiter growth or enlarged thyroid, okay? So iodine excess can actually suppress thyroid function. So it can both lead to greater thyroid production, but it can also have a regulatory feedback inhibition, okay? So this can trigger hyperthyroidism, which is Jode-Bastow phenomenon or Wolff-Chaikoff effect, okay? So chronic high intake can disrupt normal thyroid regulation. So it's really important, guys, that yes, taking in iodine is good, but excess can be bad, okay? Thyroid hormones and the metabolism. Now, thyroid hormones increase basal metabolic rate by enhancing mitochondrial activity and oxygen consumption. So stimulating protein synthesis, lipid metabolism, and glucose utilization. In other words, if you've got low thyroid function, you don't metabolize lipids too well or fat, and you don't also use glucose very well. Okay, so it's important that you understand that you've got to have enough thyroid to regulate your metabolism. It can increase heart rate, okay, thermogenesis, in other words, heating of the body, and sympathetic nervous system sensitivity. In other words, it can actually leave you a little bit down, a little bit sort of depressed if you don't have good sympathetic nervous system function. But a high functioning sympathetic nervous system can make you a little bit sort of more nervous, agitated, and can actually affect your metabolism and also your digestive system. So having high and having low is not good, okay? Low is bad for the fact that your metabolism is slow. High is bad for the fact that your metabolism is too fast and can lead to, sympathetic nervous responses. Now, adequate iodine is necessary for normal thyroid hormone production, which in turn then regulates overall metabolic activity in the body. Now, the next video series, we're going to go and start talking about different thyroid disorders and metabolism, okay? So look out for that video. I'm going to end this video here, but just remember that the thyroid gland regulates your metabolism, okay? Regulates your heart function and regulates a lot of different functions within the body. So it's a very important hormone and one that we obviously have to take care of by making sure we have adequate both thyroxine, okay, and that comes from iodine, okay, and the amino acid that's involved in actually metabolizing that. Thanks for listening, guys, and look out for my next video.